In actuality, Moody tells exactly what happened.
Yep.
He straight out says his name would have to be put in under another school, and he'd be the only one, and so he'd be picked. Which is really strange.
But yeah, especially because there's a try wizard club, so there should only be 3 schools entered. So that also is comment about like it would take an exceptionally powerful dark wizard to confund the powerful object that you've got.
Now, you will find, especially toward the end of the book, that fake Mad-Eye grandstands just like Voldy, his idol. And again, if you just Avada Kedavra, I'm sick of you, it's all over. He certainly has the power. He certainly has the intent. 2 things, actually 3 things I want to mention that come up in this book. We hear about Bezoars again. And here's a really interesting thing. I've been making this huge handout about all the herbs and things that are mentioned in potions and herbology, because so many of them are actually real. They don't necessarily do what we see them doing in the book, but they're actually real and have effects, either medicinal or magical. And so I was looking up Bezoars the other day, and first I found out that Bezoars are real, and they are indeed a stone-like object, which is actually a collection of junk that's been swallowed by a goat, and it comes out in a very hard stone-like manner, and people used to indeed keep these. And it was believed that they would work as an antidote for most poisons. And so some scientist actually did a study of it, and he found that it's not all poisons, but indeed many poisons. What is in this Bezoar absorbs the poisonous effect, arsenic being one of them. So I was like totally freaked out when I read this. And then number 2, humans can actually get Bezoars in their stomachs too by eating, there's people that eat things that are not edible, and they then lump together and make a stone-like, and I was like, whoa. Did everybody catch the mention of the Room of Requirement by Dumbledore on page 417? And it's interesting. It's interesting because he looks at Harry and he says, I don't know. I looked for it again, I couldn't find it, but perhaps it's only there when a seeker is really in need of it.
A seeker.
Yeah.
I get it.
Kind of interesting. There's also mention that Dumbledore has a brother named Aberforth. Aberforth means from the sea. And Aberforth has a special relationship with goats. He got in trouble once for some spells he put on ghosts. At an interview, J.K. Rowling was asked, is this an adult thing that he did with goats or like a kid thing? And she started laughing. She said, adult.
No.
I know. There's also mention of a Niffler, brief mention, and of course anybody who's seen Fantastic Beasts know that there's a really cute, sweet Niffler in it, if you didn't like Nifflers before. And in Harry Potter, they're used to search for shiny objects, which goes along with Fantastic Beasts. The word niffle is a sieve-like device used in mining to collect gold. So there is a prediction that Madame Trelawney makes on page 576, where she talks about the joining of Neptune and Mars. And this is interesting because in astrology, Neptune represents the underworld and secrets and questionable activities, And Mars is symbolic of drive, momentum, energy, conflict, and war. So the conjunction of Mars and Neptune would make activities of the underworld surface quickly and soon. Something dark and foreboding is about to emerge, and we certainly see that happen. This book also gives us our first experience with the pensive. And to be pensive, spelled a little differently, means to be thoughtful in a serious or sad way. And sieve, S-I-E-V-E, is a utensil shaped like a bowl or cup, having holes to allow liquids or small solutions to get through, but not the larger pieces, commonly called a strainer. So put this together and it sieves out the mundane and has the important things remain in it. Now, researching on pensieves in the Harry Potter universe, I wondered if it was only somebody's memory that appeared, like their version of it, like Harry's version of the book. But according to J.K. Rowling, a pensieve shows the entire picture, even the things that possibly the person who puts the memory in would not see.
But pensive memories can be edited. 'Cause
Well,
see
they
that-
could be altered, but then it usually shows.
Okay, interesting.
Let's talk about the battle in the graveyard between Harry and Voldy. Harry and Cedric both being very honorable human beings. Neither wants to take the cup first and win the tournament. They both feel the other should get it. Harry suggests, let's take it together. It'll still be a win for Hogwarts. So they 1, 2, 3, not knowing it's a portkey, touch the cup and are transported elsewhere. Now, here is a conversation between two very honorable people. Harry's being honorable somewhat caused Cedric's death, though inadvertently. Cedric's being honorable caused his own death. So they're taken to somewhere, and it's a graveyard, and here is our heroic trip to the underworld. So what happens next? And Harry is shocked because Voldy says, kill the spare. Kill the spare relates in British culture. The oldest son of the king or would-be king is the crown prince. The next oldest brother, or now since it's been changed, sister, is called the spare. And it used to be that two of the royal family could never travel together, because just in case there was an accident or an assassination attempt, they wanted at least one to survive. So this is a little bit of a linkage, as if it is calling Harry in some way royal. Now, once again, we have Voldy putting this on him. Harry does not refer to himself as royal, most certainly. When the Avada Kedavra is cursed onto Cedric, what happens to Cedric? What does he do? He dies, obviously. But he just falls in place. There's no fire, there's nothing behind him destroyed. He doesn't fly up in the air like another character we see Avada Kedavra later. And this is important. Moody's already taught us there's no marks on the body. Just
And
Dead.
we know that Muggle police, when they find bodies that have been Avada Kedavra, it's impossible for them to determine any cause of death.
yeah, and they think, for instance, the Riddle family had died of fright. That was the only, because they all had like panicked look on their face.
But it brings up the question of what exactly does the Avada Kedavra curse do to the body? Anyway, for that matter, what does the Crucio curse do to the body? And could Muggles detect that?
I don't think Crucio leaves marks either, but I think it just
Right.
pretty much destroys your nerves the more it's used. And I think Avada Kedavra probably just stops your heart. What happens next? We see Ratfink, Pettigrew, dragging a huge cauldron, and this cauldron is stone, which is different than other cauldrons we've seen, and it's a lot larger. Harry is chained to the gravestone of Tom Riddle Sr., which is creepy. Blood is taken from Harry for the curse blood, flesh, and bone. The blood is from Harry. The bone is of the father, but really they're just taking grave dust, which you see in a lot of old-timey witch curses and devil worship type curses. Bone of the father. Blood of the enemy. And flesh. Here we see what was predicted for us in chapter 1. You'll be able to do a job many of my followers would give their right hand to do. And indeed, Pettigrew chops off his right hand, and it all goes in the pot, and then that creepy little red disgusting baby is placed in the pot, and Harry is sitting there going, oh, please let something go wrong, please let something go wrong, please let something go wrong. With each addition to the cauldron, the fire turns a different color, and then we have Voldy emerge. Meanwhile, here's poor Pettigrew dying on the ground without a hand.
I did some reading last night, a little bit on that, and J.K. Rowling said that because Voldemort had some of Harry's blood in him, he actually had a chance to become, or to redeem himself after he comes back, but he doesn't, but because he has that good blood in Harry.
Interesting. So he had the chance for
He had the
redemption.
chance for redemption and didn't take it.
Also, it's interesting to note that there's 3 ingredients in this potion, and 2 of these ingredients Harry has kind of already ruined beforehand. Huh? Because he saved
The hand.
Wormtail's life, so the hand that served Voldemort is indebted to Harry, and also
And I'm also assuming this is his dominant hand that he chopped.
and
Which-
also he his mother's protection is in his blood, which means that Voldemort can't die, fortunately. But it also means that Voldemort can't kill Harry, which
Correct.
becomes useful much later.
Correct. And then we have Voldy again grandstanding. On and on about, basic, how great I am. And he calls his Death Eaters to him. And now we find out about what Karkaroff has been talking to Snape about. The mark is getting darker. We also find a new meaning to some spots don't wash off. And this tattoo looks like the dark mark in the sky.